Today I have the honor to sit down with Michelle Miller, otherwise known as Farm Babe on lots of the social media platforms, if you know her by that. Michelle is also a columnist for Ag Daily. She lives in Iowa, where they raise cattle and sheep and crops, and has really become quite an influential advocate, if you want to use that word. And honestly, as I was kind of creating your bio, Michelle, there was so much stuff and so many cool things that I found that I was like, you know what? I think the best thing to do is just kind of put out a few short statements and then kind of give you the floor to really dive in and explain, who you are and what you're all about. So if you wouldn't mind kind of doing that to get things rolling here,
Yeah.
start there.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, so like you said, I'm on a farm in Iowa, but I'm actually in Alaska right now. So I wanted to take advantage of this beautiful background. I'm up here visiting friends, and we're going to tour some flower farms and learn about blueberries. And so I'm going to learn about agriculture in Alaska this week, so I'm pretty excited about that. So I try to be an advocate for agriculture from all walks of life, all different parts of the world. So I do a lot of traveling, well, before COVID, right? So
Right.
to come to Alaska was the first time I had been on a plane in like 5 months. But I'm trying to take advantage of the downtime because BC, before COVID, I was constantly on a plane. I do a lot of public speaking, always at different conferences, and so it's been nice to have a little bit of downtime, I guess, but still trying to get back out there and see different parts of the world and the country, and learn about agriculture in different parts of the world. So here we are. But yeah, between writing, speaking, I work as an influencer and work on the farm as best I can when I'm back in Iowa. Just trying to be just give agriculture and science a bigger voice.
Right. And that is one thing that I think when you agreed to this, I was like, okay, yes, this is awesome. I think you're going to kind of probably show a little bit of a different perspective than maybe some of the people that I've kind of interviewed and talked to before. Real quick though, I do want to touch on the fact that you are from Iowa. Iowa always, obviously just had a huge storm come through that was extremely devastating to the area. Were you guys impacted by that hugely, or how did things end up in your area?
Fortunately, we were okay in our part. The major damage was like a couple hours south of us. So we just had some strong winds and rain. We did get like a lot of our corn was flattened here probably maybe about a month ago. We got hit pretty hard with some pretty strong winds. It's pretty standard for Iowa, unfortunately. Like this time of year, it's just you get a lot of tornadoes and lots of rain, and yeah, it's kind of a bummer in that sense. But yeah, hearts go out to everybody that was affected. I mean, there was parts of Iowa that had like over 110-mile-per-hour winds, so it was just crazy. But as far as us, we're doing all right.
Well, good. That's good to hear. So kind of to switch gears and jump right in here. So you have in lots of your articles and kind of in your story, you mentioned that you first started in Hollywood and were actually really deep in the fashion side of things. And then, were very bought in too, to kind of the whole, maybe mindset is probably the best word to use in terms of that kind of lifestyle. And then obviously now you're on the complete flip side of that, advocating for agriculture. So how did that change and how did all that happen?
Yeah, I grew up in Wisconsin, but I moved to Los Angeles for college back in 2001. And I lived in LA, I lived in Chicago downtown for 7 years. I worked in fashion for a while. I worked for Gucci on Rodeo Drive. My degree I had a fashion background from the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. So fashion and design was really my jam. And then throughout my adult life, I was probably I started dating a farmer. I met him at a bar in Florida randomly. And I moved to Iowa in 2014 to be with him permanently. And so when I moved from the city to the farm life, I just realized that basically everything I thought I knew about agriculture was wrong. And so that's the whole reason I started my platform, was because, I had seen movies like Food Inc., which were super influential for people like me, living in downtown Chicago. I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. Like, I have to only buy organic. I'm poisoning my families, like GMOs and Monsanto and chemicals. It's just the devil, like everything that I believed. I realized was basically just a bunch of bullshit.
Yes.
And Food Inc. is not true at all. And so the more I started connecting with and learning from real farmers, the more I realized, like, gosh, this isn't fair that so many people are fed this misinformation. So I debunk a lot of myths surrounding like factory farming and GMOs and pesticides. And that's really kind of been the angle that I've taken, is just to bring science and facts to the forefront of the discussion compared to just marketing fluff and like food companies and people trying to change the narrative to suit an agenda that isn't based in science or fact.
Right. And one of the things, like you said, applying the science aspect to all of it is something I think that gets lost a lot in the shuffle of things. I always say I like facts because they're harder to argue with, but having the science to back it up is really the vital key in that, because I think when you're able to produce research and numbers, it makes people pay attention a little bit more, I think, in terms of what's actually going on. But with that being said, how do I think agriculture maybe doesn't do the best job of telling their story sometimes. And the science aspect of all of it is, my dad and I always joke, it's not the sexy part of agriculture. How do you kind of keep up with that and keep things still appealing to people, to kind of the everyday consumer?
Right. Yeah, I think that's so important. And you come across people in the sciences like this all the time that, you know, I like to take what the work behind the scientists and make it digestible for the average person to understand, and it happens all the time when you meet a scientist, right? You say, so what do you do? And then they give an elevator pitch that you're like, okay, so what does that mean?
Right.
And then they go into it at the next level. And sometimes you have to chip away, like you have to ask like 5 or 6 questions before you really get, oh, okay, so you make plants better for people, right? Like it's
Right.
like let's just talk about like, oh, you help create seedless watermelons.
Right.
Cool. Now that pertains to me as a consumer, right?
Right.
So we have to remember that in agriculture, the average person does not know what a combine is. They don't know the difference between a cow and a heifer and a steer. They don't know what a soybean field looks like. So we have to remember to think about all these. Consumers aren't, generally speaking, people aren't like stupid. They just don't get to understand the other side. They're only exposed to one side of it. And so, just take what people know. Remember that analogies work really well. Like my friend Kevin Folta, who's a professor of horticulture science at University of Florida, he does a great job of that. And when you try to learn about genes and DNA and all that stuff, he talks about, the text in a book and the book in a library. You know what I mean? Like thinking about ways to help people understand what is the difference between, like, what do these terms mean,
Right.
And I always talk about that, with pesticides. You think about how we as humans are living, we need bug spray, we need sunscreen, we need medicine, we need nutrients, food. Plants need that too. And so I think so many people get lost in like, well, we can't have any chemicals. But it's like, well, hold on. Like you and I need chemicals to survive. Chemicals does not mean it's a bad thing. We just have to put it into context of like plant, like crop protection products is the way that we use it, right? That we have to protect our plants and our animals just like we would protect ourselves. So different ways like that you can make it more understandable for the average person,
Right. Yeah. Kind of breaking it down to build them up almost, from a
Right.
understanding level, I guess, really. And I think
Yeah.
that sometimes can be challenging too, because as agriculturalists, we have this idea of, okay, it makes sense for us. Why does it not make sense for you? So, the challenging aspect of that sometimes to break it down and, start from the ground up, really.
For sure. Pun intended, right?
Exactly. So you mentioned that you enjoy myth busting, and that's, I think, one of your biggest things if you kind of read through all of your media and articles and all that kind of stuff. And with that, you focus a lot on food labels and GMOs. Could you maybe go into that as far as, what does it look like for you when you decide, okay, I'm going to write about, myths about food labels today or myths about GMOs? How do you what's your mindset to kind of attack that article or break it down, like you said, for the common consumer?
Yeah, I get a lot of inspiration actually from my followers, or people, my friends, people that, if I get like any sort of pushback in my comment section, or I read misperceptions that people have, and then I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, that's true. I wonder how many other people share that thought. I should write about that and like
Right.
debunk that. So for example, I wrote an article debunking like egg labels, right? And then somebody in the comment section said, you should really debunk certified Angus beef. And I was like, you know what? That's so true, because for years people have said, oh, as long as they have a speck of black, they can be Angus, or they can be Holstein and still be Angus. And they can, so so as long as the herd is over 50% black, you can call them Angus. And I was like, I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical of some of those claims. So, but when you read the comment section, and then it turned into this long thread of my followers, like kind of arguing with each other, where one person says, oh, no, that's not true. And the next person says, yes, it is. And then they go back and forth. And I'm like, you know, I never really thought of that before. I'm going to have to find the real facts. So it's just constant wanting to learn. And just going to the source, right? I mean, I think that's the biggest problem, is you should never just Google something and take that face value. You have to really like dive into the real experts and figure out the facts from the people that do it for a living, as opposed to just a random search. So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it stemmed from my own curiosity and changing my mind on, like when I learned organic still used pesticides, I was like, what? Like
Yeah.
all those years I was spending money on organic because I thought it meant pesticide free and pure and clean and all this stuff. And it's like, no. And then you learn the real facts and you're like, what? And so I just wanted to like fight back with my wallet, and just help people decipher fact from fiction, help people with that critical thinking.
Yeah, right. And that's where I think there's a little bit of lacking sometimes, is that critical thinking that you just mentioned. With, you just said you go straight to the source, which I even have found, sometimes I'll Google something to get research for a post or something like that. And the first six things are either not true, or activists kind of fighting back against what the truth and reality, trying to kind of portray this different picture that's not accurate. And so even,
Yep.
I think when you're trying to get that factual information out there, it's still challenging, because I know that's not right. So if I search it and that's the first thing that pops up, what about these other people who really are trying to get information and that's what they're seeing?
Bingo. Yep. 100%.
Uh,
And you can go into Google and you can like report something, right? Like if you do a Google search and it's like, like The Guardian is one of the worst sources for
yeah.
information when it comes to animal agriculture. Like The Guardian received a $900,000 grant from vegan animal rights activists. And so pretty much anytime that anybody uses The Guardian as a source, like my eyes just roll all the way back in my head, but people don't know, right? And so, but you can like tap on the upper right-hand corner of the link and report it to Google saying this isn't true, or like report fake news, stuff like that. So you can do that, which I think helps. But yeah, people just have to realize, you have to Google the author, understand who their background is, who they are, do they have an agenda? There's so many things behind it to kind of help people say, how do you know what a credible source is?
Absolutely. And I think your point of going directly to the source is really the best way to do that. And it's important for people to, like you and myself, to be that middleman, I guess, really between the source and the common consumers. That being said,
For
though,
sure.
I know you get to travel a lot and visit different facilities and farms. Um, I always wish that you could just bring people with you, because I think it would make things so much easier and so much clearer. And now with technology, it is making things a little bit easier, but kind of across the board, what's something that when you go to these places, you see, and it's like the one thing you could just like paraphrase to everybody, like, this is how it really is, type of statement maybe.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I see is debunking the myths behind factory farming, like that big farms does not mean bad. It's usually the other way around, right? The biggest farms usually have the most regulations. They have the most environmental standards, highest standards. They have the most oversight. Some of the largest farms that are going to, say, like a McDonald's or something like that, for example, right? Like they have all these third-party audits that go to make animal welfare checks. There's so much science that goes into, like so I went to Auburn University and toured their poultry science and research departments there, and learned about I mean, there's just an insane amount of science that goes behind poultry production, right? Like when you go to Chick-fil-A and you get chicken nuggets or a chicken sandwich, they all have to be uniform, that exact same size, right? And so when you understand the science behind like how they do that and how welfare standards are just so high through the roof, I just want to take everybody with me and just like show them the science and like have them walk through barns and see how well animals are cared for, right? Like I think people think, oh my God, they're in a little cage and they can't move. And it's like, yeah, but that's not really true. And like, even when I toured some of these egg farms, for example, you know, you open the cage doors, like they don't want to come out. Like
Right.
they're pretty comfortable and everything's there for a reason, right? Like they're in a cage to protect themselves because the research shows that that's how you get the healthiest, best chickens with the cleanest eggs and the best production and all of these things. And you know, the more comfortable an animal is, the better they'll produce. So this isn't about like, I mean, is it about profits? Sure. Like, let's not kid ourselves. It's
Right.
still a business. But at the same time, you can't be profitable if you aren't taking care of your assets.
Yes.
Like a guy who builds a table can't scratch his table up and sell it, right? Like,
Right.
it's the same with animals and livestock. You can't sell a sick animal if your eggs are disgusting and misshapen and dirty. Like you can't sell it. So, I mean, it's the same thing. And people just need to apply that to business. Now, there's nothing wrong with small farms either, right? I mean, I think people have this romantic imagery, you know, small family farm, grass fed, you know, all that stuff. That's amazing too. But they don't always think about the reality of predators. And, you know, I'm in Alaska right now. It's summer, but come January, this place is going to be awful. You know, I do not want to be an animal outside.
Right.
Yeah, if I am a pig in Alaska in January, bring my ass inside, please.
Right. Or a free range chicken. You're in
Yeah.
trouble.
Yeah, I did a meme once that went pretty viral. It was a picture of a chicken in a snowbank, and all you could see was his beak poking out of the snow, and it said, "Be free range." They said it would be fun. They said.
Oh my gosh, that's
And so
great.
it's just so it's just putting things into perspective for people when it's like, look, like we all care. We all want what's best for animals and the environment and all that stuff. It's just putting it together in a funny way, like a meme, right? Like a goofy video, like a goofy post or storytelling. Like we just have to tell the story of agriculture in a way that we want to like speak to others how you want to be spoken to, right? Like
Right.
we have short attention spans. You know, there's a reason why Snapchat and Instagram and all this stuff is popular, because we're busy people. Like, let's just do this 10-second snippet to just get to the point. Even I'm good at rambling. Listen to me now, blah, blah, blah. But you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's easy to, it's easy to ramble, but at the end of the day, it's like, come on, girl, just get to the point.
Well, one thing I do want to mention, you mentioned Auburn, Poultry Science. So I actually work for Texas A&M for the Poultry Science department. So we're gonna have to
Shut up!
yeah, we're gonna have to get you out
That's
to our
amazing. There you go. That's awesome. I would love to see that.
uh,
Yeah, I live for stuff like that. It's amazing.
yeah. Well, and even me. I mean, I have an agriculture background, but really had no concept really of the poultry industry until I started working for the department. And even just on a very small scale at our research facility out at the farm, you know, it's shocking the efficiency and the biosecurity and all the regulations that go into it. When people just think we got a bunch of dirty chickens in little tiny cages, and that couldn't be really.
Oh, it drives me bonkers. Yeah. Have you seen the movie Super Size Me Too?
Oh my goodness, yes. I think I had to actually watch it for a health class in
Oh God.
6th grade.
Yeah. And see, and that's what sucks, right? Like, in my opinion, that's like the biggest place where agriculture drops the ball, is like the animal rights activist groups, the you know, like the other side of things that aren't spreading truthful information. They're doing these catchy videos, they're getting these celebrities, they're spending big bucks like changing the narrative. And I feel like the agriculture industry, like the science aspect, we need to do a lot more of that. Like we need to do a lot more Netflix documentaries. We need to get a lot more celebrities involved. But when we do these films, we just have to make sure that they're like fun and exciting and funny and interesting, that everybody wants to watch, because people want to learn where their food comes from. But if we're doing it in the same way we've always done it, where you're just telling the story of agriculture, where it's like, you know, an old man wearing bib overalls and, you know, the family farm, and like, it's beautiful, but it doesn't sell, right? Like,
Right.
oh, I'm a 5th generation rancher. No shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
can we tell the story in a funny, interesting, different way? Like, can we, you know, like, I always wanted to take like a Geico type of approach to
Yes.
agriculture, right? Like, can we sell a product that's friggin' hilarious instead of like labeling the consumer to death? Can we share the, can we build a connection for the farmers behind it? Like, I think Culver's is a really good, Culver's being thank you farmers, like sharing a lot of that picture during the Thank a Farmer project, like really getting farmers in the forefront of people's minds when they go to eat at Culver's, is just amazing. And it makes you feel good. Like, it makes you feel like you're supporting small family farms, and you just feel that connection to your food, as opposed to just like, yeah, I got a burger and it was good. Well, what if you feel the connection to the family, right? And so now it's not just about like eating a delicious burger. It's about like feeling that connection to knowing, feeling like you know where it comes from, that you're just like a feel good. It's a dining experience, you know, where
Right.
it really promotes agriculture and puts farmers at the forefront of the conversation, you know?
Right. And I think too, we do a good job of,
There's a bee flying around me. So
oh my
if
gosh.
if I'm looking around, it's because there's a bee around me.
Okay, well, please don't get
The
stung.
ways of nature. I
Uh,
won't. I can't.
I think, you know, sometimes agriculture likes to talk to other agriculture people. You know, sometimes misery loves company as far as, you know, propping themselves up, or we may know what's going on, so let's talk about that, but not to get that information out. But I think exactly like you said, finding a creative way to kind of get that information out and keep people engaged, because I think that's the biggest thing at the end of the day, as far as you got to have their attention span in order to get a message across to them.
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
Speaking of things that catch your attention, Burger King lately, they released that
Ah,
commercial.
yes.
What was your initial reaction when you first saw that video?
Oh my God, I like threw my phone across the room. I couldn't, I couldn't finish it. I was like, this is bullshit. I was so mad. Bullshit, like pun intended, because it's just like, it, they're talking about reducing methane from cow farts. 97% of methane comes from this end. It was never about farts. And so they got so much wrong factually, scientifically. Like, if you're going to talk about beef, can you not show a dairy cow? Like,
Right.
can you not call them cows? Like, everything about it was just so wrong. Yeah, so it took me a while before I could actually choke it down and watch the whole thing. And then just showing it to other people and just watching their reactions. Everybody's like, this is so dumb. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. This is so stupid. And they got so much backlash from us in the agriculture community, but the average consumer was like, this is greenwashing, this is virtue signaling. Like, the vegan community was mad because they're like, you're still serving burgers, like you're not doing anything. And so the science was premature. You know, some of the research isn't even published, like it's inconclusive. Like, it was just so wrong on so many fronts. But I think Burger King wasn't expecting that. I think that they weren't expecting people to fact check. I think they, in hindsight, would have done things a lot differently. And, you know, I kind of heard that straight from the horse's mouth when I had a call with them and said, come on out to the farm. Like, if you want to see sustainability and you want to see what we do to help the planet, like, I'd love to show you. And they took me up on it. So they flew out last week. And I took some of them to a dairy farm in Wisconsin, showed them. I brought my friend Bob Powell, who's the CEO of Brightmark. They do methane digesters. So I had Bob out there to show us, you know, how they turn methane from manure pits into renewable natural gas. So you literally have cow manure powering homes, like
Wow.
poop to power. And
Right.
so if you want to reduce methane, that's a really noble goal. But farmers were doing that before it was cool, right? We've been focusing on reducing our environmental footprint for decades. So we did that. Then they came out to my farm the following day, and then we toured a larger scale beef cattle like feedlot that afternoon. And so I wanted to showcase a number of different farms with a number of different experts. There were some people I really wanted to be there, but due to COVID, they couldn't come out due to travel restrictions. But we did have like Dr. Dan Thompson from Iowa State joined us on a Zoom call. And yeah, just I had all sorts of great people involved. But it was just really neat to show them, and they were really receptive. They learned a lot. They really appreciated it. Had a camera crew with us for those couple of days, and stay tuned because it looks like they're going to be doing some work with that video footage and highlighting agriculture. So yeah, it went really well. I was so honored and thankful to have them and have them listen to us, like, and really care, you know, because we care. And I think that was the main thing. Like, I do genuinely feel that their intentions are good.
Right.
So it's a good feeling to actually have a dialogue.
Right. And that was going to be kind of my next question from all that too, was what maybe your biggest takeaway from the experience was, and what it seemed that theirs might have been from everything.
Yeah, you know, when I was trying to pick their brains, I was trying to give them some ideas on like ways that I think agriculture could use some help in the ag marketing space, because Burger King does ads that really push the envelope. They really pride themselves on things different out of the box. Like, as much as their hashtag menu ad offended so many of us, I still gave them so much credit in the sense of like, it was different, it was unique, it was clever, the song was catchy, the boy was talented, and I was like, can we do that but just like talk about farmers lift us up, don't bring
Right.
us down?
Right.
And so I was trying to like throw out some ideas. They did that move forward. They're still going to do reach with this whole Lemongrass thing or whatever, but they want to run their ads past me before they go public. And then I know they talked to Dr. Frank Mitloner at UC Davis as well. So that is the takeaway was like, yeah, we should really be talking to farmers about this before we release that, because I don't think that they were expecting or intended for any negativity to come from this. So this was the one thing. I had asked them, you know, I said, where do you source your beef, right? Because I think a lot of people think that they source their beef from South America or whatever. And they said, well, like, we kind of don't really know where it comes from because they just get it from Cargill. And as beef producers, a lot of times we don't know where our beef goes. And I could really tell that it was like a light bulb moment, I think, with Fernando as the chief marketing officer, Burger King, and myself. You know, we kind of looked at each other with like this light bulb where it's like, it's kind of messed up that we don't know where our beef goes, and it's kind of messed up that they don't know where theirs come from. So I think their next thing, if I can just get, and this is just me talking, this isn't like an official statement or anything like that from them,
Yeah.
but if I could like read their body language and like through the conversations we had, I think they'd really like to focus on traceability. Now that would be cool. If you want to reduce your carbon footprint, go right ahead by getting your beef from right here in your own country rather than shipping it in from God knows where. What if it does come from Brazil or Mexico or wherever? You know, it's like,
Right.
source it from right here. Like, find out where your burgers come from and highlight those farmers. Like, that would be cool. And how cool would it be for like myself as a beef producer to know where it goes, where I could say, yeah, we raise beef for Burger King burgers. Like, it comes from me. Like, that's cool. So I think that's something we both really strongly agreed on was traceability. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think they just learned a lot. They didn't realize a lot of things. You know, we talked about, you know, antibiotics and hormones and GMOs and chemicals and organics and, you know, what we do to protect the water and soil. And oh gosh, we covered so much. It was great. They were just like, they were great. I loved working with them.
Well, thank you for, you know, kind of not taking a bullet, but being the person to kind of show them and say, hey, this is what it's really like, and this is how we do things, and this is why we do things. And your point,
Yeah.
the whole traceability side of things too. I think that could be huge if that's kind of the route that they choose to take from it. Like you said, not only from the food and consumer side of things, but also for the producer, from a pride and self-marketing point as well, to know where everything ends up.
Yeah. Well,
So,
and like the other thing too is you look at the lemongrass thing that they're talking about, right? And their
right.
whole thing on reducing methane is feeding lemongrass to cattle. But where does that lemongrass come from,
Well,
right? Like,
that's
so are you going to
exactly
ship?
what I said.
are you going to ship lemongrass from like Southeast Asia? Like, because that kind of defeats the purpose of mitigating your carbon footprint, right? And
Right.
then the cost. So like right now, as beef producers, so many farmers are just losing all this money. The market prices are down so much lately. And like, okay, so you're losing money, and then you want us to pay how much to feed lemongrass? And then you want us to lose how much more money? And it's like, and then you're not going to pay us anymore. Like, it's just, if they want us to do this big initiative, corporations like that, they should pay the farmer. Like they said, we supply the feed. We'll pay you for it. We'll take care of it. We'll give you an honest, fair price so that you never go under, so that they can actually, you want to talk about sustainability, we need to keep our farmers in business by keeping them profitable. So the
Right.
day that a big corporation like Burger King or somebody would ever step to the plate to be like, we're going to work with you and we're going to make sure that you never lose money on these cattle. It
Right.
should be, there's nothing wrong with wanting to pay a worker $15 an hour to flip burgers, right? Okay, fine. No disrespect intended to our fast food workers who are awesome. But how do they get to make all this money and the farmer is taking all the risk and all the hard work and can't even turn a profit? Like, it's so
Exactly.
messed up.
Exactly. I think
Yeah.
people think, farmers, they make a lot of money and all this kind of stuff. Well, there's definitely years where it's in not breaking even. And especially
Right.
there's so many risk factors involved in it, and it's just it's crazy to think about.
Yeah. You, you can make a good living, but then there's, you take your good years and your bad years. And,
Right.
but I also feel like that's one of agriculture's like biggest downfalls is this. It's like, yeah, but that's not the way it should always be. Like, we should be fighting for fairness in our industry, and keeping farmers afloat. And it just breaks my heart to see farmers not be able to make it. Like, it's just wrong,
Yep.
So that's one thing I'm really passionate about. I don't know how to solve it, but at least by putting it out there, maybe it'll get people's gears turning to like really make a change. I'm not a politician, but dang, it would be nice if we had some that really stood for us and got us all paid properly, took
For
care of
sure.
us.
For sure. Uh, I think, even personally, I kind of say, the biggest challenge for agriculture is consumer education. As I'm kind of speaking with people and being exposed to different things, my views have changed on that a little bit. But would you agree or disagree with that kind of statement of our biggest challenge is consumer education?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would agree with a lot of that. Is bridging the gap between consumers and farmers is so very important. Um, and I think that as an industry, and it's hard. It's like I love fighting for farmers, but I'm one person with no corporate budget, right?
Right.
But as far as like the big, check off whatever programs, like the big guys that are supposed to be fighting for us, it's like, I don't know where all that money goes, but it would be really great if we could get some celebrities and stuff back on board, and work on some movies, to make it interesting. Because as of right now, um, that's really been our biggest challenge is the influence coming from vegan animal rights activists and like organic food corporations and celebrities, spreading misinformation. When you have somebody like Natalie Portman or Joaquin Phoenix at the Oscars or the Emmys or whatever. I don't get into all that stuff
Yeah.
much, but you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
They have a huge voice, and with the power of one tweet, a celebrity can change everybody's mind. So we have to get to them first before the activists do. And it's like I always think back to the '90s, how cool milk was. With the Got Milk campaign. We had
Yep.
Brett Favre, we had Giselle, we had Kermit the Frog. I mean,
Yep.
we had anybody and everybody to do the Got Milk campaign, and it was so well done and memorable. We really need to do more like that to make ag cool.
Right.
Just get some freaking sexy ass rock stars promoting the cotton industry or whatever you
Right.
want to do, whatever it is. Just please, somebody make agriculture like cool.
Right? Yes, that needs to be, I think right there, there's the new slogan, ag is cool, or something like that.
Well, and I have to give credit to that. When I think the reason cotton came to my mind is because I interviewed Black Cotton, if you know Julian.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to think of Julius Tillery, sorry. He does the whole black cotton, and he wants to call himself like the Puff Daddy of cotton. And so I had interviewed him, and he's a really cool guy, but he wants to, raise awareness on like black cotton, and he's like a 5th generation, black farmer in the South. And, but he's got a really cool story to tell. And that was his shtick, was he's like, I want to make cotton cool, Puff Daddy cotton. And I was like, that's really freaking badass,
Yeah, that's great.
And so I always love promoting that message, because we need a lot more of that, right? Like, just celebrities and people that want to make our industry sexy. I won't claim to be an expert on that, but there's plenty of creative people out there. I mean, the Burger King guys are a perfect example of that, right? Where it's like, you guys, you think outside the box. I'll give you credit.
Yeah.
Can we please use that little mind of yours to like together and help us make ag cool? So that was kind of one of my goals in building this relationship with them. And it's funny, like I'm in Alaska right now, and Fernando, the chief marketing officer, Burger King, when I was talking to him when he was in Iowa, I said, yeah, I'm getting ready to go to Alaska on Monday. And his face just lit up, right? Like, he's like, I've been to Alaska 3 times. It's amazing. Oh my God. Like, he texted me yesterday. He's like, have you gone fishing yet? Please send me pictures of your fish. And I was like, oh man, like, so we kind of bonded over the fact that we both love fishing, and like, I'm in Alaska. So, but we're people, right? Like, we have to get to know each other outside of just, hey, I'm a farmer. Hey, I'm a farmer I've been to 67 countries. I love fishing. I love hiking. I love travel. Like, these are the stories that we need to be telling, other than just, let me tell you about agriculture, but let's get to know each other as friends and as people, and build on relationships and go from there. You know what I mean?
Yes, for sure. And I think you have done an excellent job in kind of creating this like cool farm girl yet super successful kind of vibe about you that I think is very appealing to people wanting to kind of learn more. And then they also feel like they know you, and they can trust you with the information that you're giving them too. So I commend you on that, and everything you've done.
Oh, thanks.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks. I love talking to people like you. I love doing stuff like this and getting to know people in our world, and hopefully getting that out there to people outside of our world as well. You know who does a good example, a good job of that, is Rice Farming TV. If you know Matthew out in California,
yes,
he does that. He has a great YouTube channel.
Yes,
and but he reached a lot of people outside of agriculture when he did videos around where his wife is from in Brazil, and he did these videos showcasing her little town that went pretty viral in Brazil. And so all of a sudden, all these people were following him because they wanted to watch videos about traveling in Brazil. But then, we're learning about rice farming at the same time. So it's stuff like that where you cross over and help people understand, the person, where it's like, whoa, like, you like to travel? You've been to Brazil? Dude, cool. Let's talk about that.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, you grow rice. I never even thought about where my rice comes from. That's so cool. Think about agritourism. Everybody loves agriculture. They love agritourism. It's such a destination, especially in the fall. Everybody wants a good fresh apple donut,
Right.
And it's like, okay, so let's do that with like so much more than just fall apple picking. You know what I mean? And there is. Agritourism's amazing.
Yeah, it's like feeding the toddler macaroni and cheese, but trying to figure out how to slide the vegetables in there for the well-rounded meal.
Yeah, see, perfect. There's your advocating analogy. There's your shtick. Sliding the vegetables in the mac and cheese. That's perfect.
Well, Michelle, I really appreciate you talking to me and taking time out of your vacation to chat about agriculture and all of the fun, exciting things that you've been up to lately. Where can people find you if they want more information from you?
Yeah, thanks. It's been great chatting with you too. My Facebook page is Farm Babe. You can just search Farm Babe and follow me there. That's where I do a majority of my outreach. I'm also the Farm Babe on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, anything like that. So my handle is @thefarmbabe. And then my website is just thefarmbabe.com. I've got like a little online store, and you can learn a little bit more about what I do there, read a lot of my articles from agdaily.com that I'm a weekly columnist for, going on, over 4 years now. I've been writing for them. And yeah, I guess that's about it. Thefarmbabe.com, there you can contact me and do all that stuff as well. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, Michelle, like I said, thank you again for taking time out of your day. And I hope you go catch some good fish and learn
Yeah.
about the blueberries and what you said, flowers and
Peonies.
stuff? Yes.
Yeah, it's like peony. I think that's how, I think I'm pronouncing it
Peonies.
right. Jeez. I've never been to like a real large scale flower farm before. So yeah, that's the other thing. I love to travel, but I find that the agriculture part of my travels is always the best part, right? It's like I always feel like I have to squeeze egg in there, you know. It's like, so yeah, I'll be touring some flower farms here. Maybe tomorrow I think we're going, and so I'll be posting all about it. You can learn where your flowers come from. So yeah, it's good stuff.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to catching up on all of that. And I know I enjoyed today, and I hope whoever is listening or watching also got a lot out of it. And we will see you with our next Friday feature.
Sounds great. Thanks so much. It's great chatting with you.